welcome to Beyond the Headlines. I'm Jane Goggins. In this edition, Press for the Planet journalists are reminded of their role to save planet Earth amidst environmental threats.
To be honest, we are making progress, but we are not yet there. Now you can be able to see that we have more reporters working on environmental stories almost each and every day.
Thanks for joining us, and once again, welcome. Now, as journalists world over commemorate Press Freedom Day today, they are doing so by reflecting on their role of sensitizing people about environmental issues affecting planet Earth. These issues have become more prominent lately as developing countries struggle to stay afloat in the face of serious environmental crises that threaten to submerge them. Over the last 10 years, Malawi has increasingly been battered by extreme weather patterns characterized by tropical cyclones, dry spells, and ravaging floods, which have destroyed people's livelihoods and disrupted the country's economic growth. The country is faced by unprecedented rates of deforestation, soil loss, and waste management challenges. Ahead of the commemoration today, President Lazarus Chakwera urged local journalists to report more on pressing environment issues, including climate change and Malawi's adaptation and resilience.
Malawi is a free country, and its freedom includes that of the press, which is enshrined in the highest laws of our land. So mine is merely an appeal to you to use this freedom to tell better stories, stories that advance our national interests, stories that add value to our pursuit of prosperity, stories that preserve our national pride, stories that inspire the world to support our gallant fight against the monster of climate change. I believe that the reason you have chosen the theme of a press for the planet is because you, as journalists all over the world, have come to realize that climate change is the biggest story to tell, and in that quest you have my full support. May democracy indeed thrive. May development find a climate in which to thrive, and may dignity be preserved for every individual. Happy Press Freedom Day. Bon appetit.
Earlier in the week, British High Commissioner to Malawi, Fiona Richi, also met environmental journalists in Lilongwe to urge them to report and investigate more on environmental issues affecting Malawi.
So this year, World Media Freedom Day is particularly relevant for Malawi because it's about protecting the planet. And for the UK government, our foreign policy priorities globally, as well as in Malawi, are about the intersection between corruption, tackling corruption, climate change and adapting to climate change and dealing with its adverse impacts, environmental management, and also press and media freedom. And all three of those issues really come together with all of you here today. And it's been my privilege to meet so many journalists working on these difficult issues in Malawi. My message to you is keep doing what you're doing. I know it's really difficult, but the stories that you have to tell and the investigations that you're carrying out are really important in getting the message out to ordinary people so that they can understand the issues, but also in holding those people to account who are contributing to Malawi's deforestation. So the challenges that we've talked about are around resourcing and capability and capacity, and that's why the UK is really proud to be supporting the AEJ through our Modern Cooking for Healthy Forests programme. We've done quite a lot to train and build capacity of journalists and various different media houses, but we've also talked a little bit about security challenges. And I think you know when you are tackling some of the issues that really, really matter, because those people with vested interests are fighting back. So we talked a bit about the strategies that you all have to keep each other safe and to keep yourself safe. And I think that's really important. And with peer support, with networks like the AEJ, that's a really important part of this. We also talked about some of the campaigns that are really of interest to you, and that's about illegal charcoal, it's about deforestation, it's also about banning thin plastics. And those are issues that I and some of my diplomatic colleagues can talk about in various different meetings. We can talk about the UK's priorities. We can help shine a light on some of those agendas, and that is one of the ways in which we work together really well.
The Association of Environmental Journalists of Malawi, EAJ, is a media organization that mobilizes and trains environmental journalists to strengthen their reporting and investigative abilities in green journalism and science journalism. Matthews Malata is president of the association.
To be honest, we are making progress, but we are not yet there. We are coming from the days when we used to hear programs like Digital Gateway. I mean, these were like fantastic productions, and that was NBC championing, this kind of programs. Over time, things have evolved. It was very difficult to hear an environmental story in some cases being aired on television or radio, and sometimes published in the newspaper, largely because there wasn't so much to talk about. We are taught in class that environment is everything that surrounds us, but perhaps at that time it did not make that sense. But today, I think we see that because of the deepening struggles, because of the emerging, issues. For example, here we're talking about climate change. We're talking about, pollution, poor waste management. Now we're dealing with carbon trading, the flooding, lake in Malawi at the moment. No, people are trying now to link all these issues to their livelihoods, to their daily lives, and they're beginning to ask critical questions. And the media is part and parcel of that regime that needs to keep on asking those critical questions. And beyond that, I think the media should also be part of an ecosystem that is also fetching answers from somewhere to be able to provide these answers to the people. And I believe that we have done that, and we have done a fair job, as now you can be able to see that we have more media practitioners, for example, under the AEJ, that are interested to pursue this agenda. Even outside AEJ, you have got reporters working on environmental stories almost each and every day. We think that is progress. What we only need to do now is to continue to build the capacity of our of media practitioners in the country, so that they can confidently report on these issues, so that they can also constantly focus on these issues, because that has been our major challenge. We start an issue today and then we drop it along the way. We don't follow it up. So we need to be consistent, but also improve on the quality. We are only trained as reporters, not environmental scientists. And this is why we collaborate with institutions like, Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Luana, MAST, Nzuni, and others, to invite experts and share information with us, so that we can continue to improve our knowledge and be in a better position to report on these matters. But despite raising awareness, what aspects of environmental journalism do you want to see going forward? At the moment, our focus has largely been, for example, on charcoal. We have talked about charcoal, I don't know for how many times. We have written these stories about charcoal, I don't know, forever. We'll keep on writing about them, because it is still a very important issue. Every day when someone wakes up, they want to cook. And the first question we need to ask ourselves is, how do that particular person cook, for example? We have electricity, yes, but maybe not everyone has got access to electricity. Now I think only 19% of Malawians have got electricity from the national grid, but 86% of Malawians, they're still, using biomass energy, which is unsustainably also done. We've got gas, yes, it is an option, but maybe still expensive and not saturated enough. Biogas, we're not yet there, and so many things. So there are so many issues that we need to deal with. So deforestation, we'll keep on writing about these stories. Now we're talking about carbon trading. We want to see the media generating a lot of debate around carbon trading issues. What is carbon trading? Who is involved? What happens? We hear there are lots of billions of kwatas and US dollars being channeled to these projects. Can we begin to track the funds? Where are the funds going? Who is involved? And how can you make sure that those funds are also benefiting the communities? The issue of waste management. We're still struggling to manage our waste in our country. These are the basics that we should have gotten right like many years ago, but it is still an issue. The issue of thin plastics. Now we are told the files are missing, and the Chief Justice is reconstructing the case. Can we continue to track all these elements? So I would say that there's a lot to focus on. Let's also invest more in digital media. Let's invest more in investigative journalism as we move forward, but more importantly, solutions journalism, because sometimes our people just need that little information to be able to change their behavior, change their perceptions, and begin to look at things from a different perspective altogether. Next year will be the year that Malawi will be holding a general election, and probably you would want to see environment to be part of the agenda. What key questions do you want journalists to ask those who will be aspiring for next year's general elections? So, as you are aware that really environment does hold the center. We have failed to be where we should have been as a country, largely because of the multiple disasters, some of them induced by climatic events which we have been experiencing as a country. Every time you have the Minister of Finance presenting the budget, they'll tell you that our projections were such, but we were not able to achieve because we had a knockdown because of maybe Cyclone Anna, Freddy, whatsoever it is. So, our roads, they are being affected each and every day. You cannot really find any road that has not been affected by the rains that we have been experiencing as a country. The quality of water, which our people are drinking, is being compromised because of the way we are disposing our waste, for example, but also because of the increasing sedimentation. There is just a huge soil erosion that is happening in this country. We are losing tons and tons, millions and tons of soils every day, and even the quality of the soils that people are farming on has also been impaired big time, and that already connects to the issue of agricultural productivity, meaning that we cannot produce anymore as we used to because our soils, they are sick. We've got sick soils in general. They can't give us what we need to get. So there's no way we can have someone aspiring to be a councillor, member of parliament, or president talking about improving the economy without hinging on agriculture. But if you dig deep and check what is happening within the sector, you will realize that our soils are sick. And if our soils are sick, we can't produce. If you can't produce, we can't sell. If you can't sell, we can't get forex. So what it means is that we want to see politicians or those aspiring to take up all these interesting and nice positions, I would say, to be able to make these connections and include in their agenda manifestos, strategies that would really help to boost the resilience of this country. We should be asking basic questions. How are they going to improve our agriculture when all the soils are going down, like Malawi, Zambezi, and other places because of deforestation? How are they going to improve, for example, waste management in our countries? How are we going to build back better and bounce forward? I think that is a very, very, very good question because Malawi is partnered with the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 to 2030. And we have got 7 priorities in that framework. One of them is to reduce disaster mortalities, damage to critical infrastructure, and so forth. But if you say in Malawi, we are still seeing all these multiple disasters damaging critical infrastructure. We are losing roads every day, maintaining the same roads over and over. Funds which should have been channeled to other priorities, for example, health and so forth. So we need to see how our leaders will come in and be able to see how we can begin to build, for example, resilient infrastructure that can withstand all these climatic shocks, and be able to also make sure that our people are supported in one way or another. We want a vibrant media, that should freely report on all these issues that we have discussed. A vibrant media that should be respected and protected. A vibrant media that should be able to access information whenever it is needed, because this information, usually when we ask, we're asking on behalf of Malawians. It's not for us. We share the information with the people. A vibrant media that can continue to sensitize Malawians on these critical issues that we are struggling with today. Because most of them, if you examine properly, they do only require mindset change. And that is not a movement that we can abandon. We need to consistently do that until we begin to see the change that we want. The beauty is that all we are discussing here is also embedded in our Malawi 2063 vision. We have got an enabler on environmental sustainability, and I'm also a champion of that enabler. And I'd like to see the media coming close to that enabler and be able to translate that into real things that everyone else can be able to see and interact with.
Now, you may have heard or watched a sci-fi movie about the existence of aliens in the galaxy and stories of them visiting planet Earth. Well, while the aliens story sounds more of a science fiction, this story we are about to see is about invasive alien species, AIS in short. In fact, parts of the country are already threatened by these invasive alien species, which are animals and plants introduced accidentally or deliberately into a natural environment where they are not normally found. Well, in places like Nyika in Rumpi, Chikwawa and Mulanje, these invasive alien species are causing a real menace to the environment. Kumbukani Piri visited Mulanje Mountain, which is grappling with the effects of invasive alien species.
Mulanje, which is grappling to replenish the endemic Mulanje cedar, Malawi's national tree, is faced by yet another threat. This plant, known as the bracken fern, is a big headache to both environmentalists and farmers. The locals call it tambala. It is one of the invasive alien species that are threatening the environment in Malawi. Already, the bracken fern has taken over most farming areas in the district, leaving farmers complaining they may not yield enough. Tambala is an invasive species which has been prevalent for years on end, but now it is covering large areas, invading farmlands. Enix Kile Piri is a smallholder tea farmer. He's grown tea since 1967. For years, he's fought the bracken fern, which had invaded his farm. Piri says the invasive plant has been there since time immemorial, but that now it is affecting the field with much aggression.
Tambala mene ndi akutikhuza kwambiri ndipo ndi chinthu choti chikutilepheresa ulimi athu.
I have been growing tea since 1967, just some years after Malawi gained its independence. Production has been dwindling by the year, and this time it's getting worse with the presence of the bracken fern. It's not just us, but even the large-scale farmers are struggling with these invasive species. The more you uproot them, the more they sprout. Bracken fern has got a network of roots underground, and that's why it's proving stubborn. In the past, I would fetch a lot, but production has dwindled a lot.
Pamene wabwera kutamba 1 kg siku kwana kutusa kota kilogramu ndikuona kuti ulimi athu ukuchepa chifukwa cha tambala.
Piri is but one of the tea farmers whose fields have been affected by the unwanted plant. The plant has also disrupted farming of other crops such as maize and pineapple, affecting livelihoods of thousands in the district. Now, just beside me is a pineapple farm here in Mulanje. As you can see, the pineapples are actually choking. Why? Because of the bracken fern, which has invaded this farm. The bracken fern is one of the invasive plants that are actually invading most farms, and they're actually crippling the yields. And that is why an alarm has been set that we really need to raise awareness about these invasive plants. They are actually contributing to dwindled production. The owner of this farm has actually complained that her yields have gone down by almost 50%. So you can actually see that these invasive crops are actually choking production. They're choking the growth of the pineapples in this particular farm. The previous farm that we visited was a tea farm. A smallholder tea grower was actually also complaining that these invasive plants are also choking his tea production, and that is why awareness really needs to be raised on these invasive plants. Some communities don't even know about them, but most communities here, they know about these invasive plants and they are fighting tooth and nail to actually deal with them, and it's really something pathetic. The Department of Environmental Affairs is treating alien invasive species as a big enemy to the environment and people's livelihoods. Chief environmentalist Boniface Chimaza says the alien species may have huge repercussions on farming activities in the country if not attended to properly. Chimaza noted that some communities in Chukwawa, for instance, have lost huge farmlands due to what is locally called jacaranda. The invasive plants, according to Chimaza, are predatory and compete with other native plants.
When they invade an area, they repress the indigenous species. They reduce biodiversity, and you know we are who we are now because of biological diversity. So it means they are changing the ecosystem, they are breaking the food chains, they are affecting food production systems. And if you can see, maybe if you have had an opportunity to have a chat with the local farmers, say in Mulanje, they will tell you how invasive species have reduced their pineapple production, for example, their tea production, how much they have spent in an effort to remove or to reduce the invasion. So it's really huge economically, human well-being, agricultural production, all sectors of life in Malawi is being affected. So even if you're talking about tourism, it's being affected because, for example, in Nyika National Park, we have an indigenous species that is so invasive. It's taking over the grassland in Nyika National Park. If we don't fight it now, the whole of that grassland may disappear. So what that means is the animals that we use to attract the visitors into the area may go away, and that will have a huge impact on the tourism sector.
The most common 4 invasive plant species that are prevalent in Malawi are Pinus patula, which is common in Nyika, bracken fern, brubus, black wattle, and the Himalayan raspberry. Alien animal species include the carnivorous tigerfish, which is common in the lower part of the Shira River. In the meantime, local scientists are looking at ways they can protect native species from these invasive alien species. In the interim, farmers are being encouraged to uproot and burn these plants once they appear in their farmlands. Kumbukani Piri for Beyond the Headlines.
We end on an acoustic note with Arthur Chidote doing the Tumbuka hymn Chiuta Lingalitu, loosely translated as Jehovah is my shield and protector. we end this edition of Beyond the Headlines. As usual, we are excited to hear from you on any of the stories we carry. Be free to drop your comments on NBC Facebook page or WhatsApp the number scrolling right below. I'm Jane Gogodos. See you again next week, and thanks for watching.